Leonidas. In August of 480 BC, King Leonidas of Sparta marched into the narrow coastal pass of Thermopylae with 300 of his finest warriors and a force of roughly 7,000 allied Greek soldiers. He was around 60 years old. He knew before he left Sparta that he was almost certainly not coming back. The oracle at Delphi had already spoken. Either Sparta would be destroyed or a Spartan king would die. Leonidas chose the king. Persia's army under Xerxes I was the largest military force the ancient world had ever assembled. Estimates from modern historians range between 70,000 and 300,000 men. Leonidas had positioned his small force at Thermopylae because the pass was barely wide enough for a single wagon, a natural choke point that canceled out the Persian advantage in numbers. For 2 full days, the Greeks held. The Persians threw wave after wave of infantry at the pass, including their elite unit known as the Immortals, and were pushed back each time. Thousands of Persian soldiers died in those 2 days. The Spartans rotated fresh fighters to the front and held the line like a wall. Then a local Greek man named Ephialtes, reportedly seeking a reward from Xerxes, revealed a mountain path that ran around and behind the Greek position. Xerxes sent his best troops along that path through the night. When the news reached Leonidas at dawn, on the 3rd day, he called a war council. Most of the allied forces were ordered to withdraw while there was still time to escape. Leonidas stayed. He kept his 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians who refused to leave, and a contingent of Thebans. According to the historian Herodotus, who wrote about the battle roughly 50 years later, Leonidas had chosen his 300 men specifically from those who already had living sons, because he understood they were not returning. On the 3rd morning, Xerxes waited until midday before sending his forces forward from both directions. The Greeks were surrounded on all sides. They fought until their spears shattered, then with swords, then with their bare hands. Leonidas was killed in the fighting, and the battle over his body became one of the fiercest moments of the entire engagement, with both sides sustaining heavy losses in the struggle. Eventually, the last Greeks were overwhelmed. When Xerxes walked through the aftermath, he ordered the body of Leonidas decapitated and the head mounted on a stake, a punishment the Persians reserved for their most despised enemies. 40 years later, Sparta returned to Thermopylae and brought their king's remains home. A stone inscription was placed at the pass that has been quoted ever since. Tell them, in Lacedaemon, passer-by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. Alexander the Great. In the spring of 323 BC, 32-year-old Alexander of Macedon was in Babylon making plans for his next campaign. He had conquered more of the known world than any man before him, building an empire that stretched from Greece to the borders of India in just over a decade. He had never lost a battle. Then, at a banquet with his admiral Nearchus and a companion named Medius of Larissa, he drank heavily through the night and into the next day. Shortly after, he developed a high fever. Over the following 10 to 12 days, Alexander's condition worsened steadily. He lost the ability to speak. His generals, desperate for reassurance, were allowed to file past his bed in silence. He recognized them, but could no longer respond. Ancient accounts